Hey, this is Notser, and we are in the Tier 10 Soviet destroyer, Khabarovsk. He has 22,500 health, a top speed of 43 knots, 8 130mm guns, 10 torpedoes, a surface detect of 9.7 kilometers, and 57 AA defense rating. For my modules, reduced crit chance on main armament, improved aiming accuracy, improved rate of fire, reduced crit chance on propulsion, faster rudder shift times 2. For my commander, priority target, adrenaline rush, last stand, basic firing training, demolition expert, and advanced firing training. Now, I just want to talk about this real quick. Look at that stat that I've added, 5.3 rudder. That is how long it takes for this particular ship with all those modules built into it. That's the number after all of the modules have done their work on the rudder. It's a pretty fair nerf, okay? So what's the nerf, Notser? The rudder is going from 6.1 to 11.1, something in that realm. That's a pretty big nerf. Now, is it an unwarranted nerf? No, it's not. The Khabarovsk has on average a 7% higher win rate than any other destroyer at Tier 10. It has among one of the highest win rates, period. Highest average damage, highest potential damage taken, you name it. It is near the top on pretty much everything. And why is that? Well, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It is operating at the fringe of what we really define as a destroyer. It is just barely a destroyer. It doesn't have a citadel. That's a huge advantage. It has laser light guns, and it can operate very far away. It has torpedoes that are somewhat useful at times. And, I mean, you can't even say that about the French. And I might get into talking about an idea that I do want to explore more in another video today. Do we need French cruisers? Are the Soviet destroyers just a better French cruiser? Now, just think about that, because that's going to be the next video. But for this particular video, I wanted to see how responsive the rudder is. And here is a perfect example. I would have had that rudder shifted over about 2 seconds faster in the previous version, and probably, well, maybe I would clear it, or maybe I wouldn't clear it. Let's be honest. Chat, let's be honest. Everyone watching, you would hit the island either way. I know, I would have. But maybe we get a little bit closer than what we did. It is a significant nerf to the style of play, because the Khabarovsk is notorious for doing damage and avoiding damage. The rudder allows you to really do both of those. The rudder allows you to avoid taking damage, and then you can reorient very quickly and have all your guns on the target. So this might be the perfect change to reducing its power level. Now, conveniently, I was also playing the Grozovoy, and the Grozovoy has a 2.2 Yes, 2.2 second rudder. Very familiar to the old, unnerved Khabarovsk. It has a faster rate of fire. It does have 2 less guns. But it is very intriguing that it has now become, in my opinion, potentially a better dueler than the Khabarovsk. Interesting. It'll be able to dodge incoming destroyer guns much easier than the 6.4 Khabarovsk. Now this guy's AFK, who cares about that? That doesn't really matter. We're moving forward towards the enemy who's on the A flank. There's a ton of them there. This isn't really a good example of people targeting you, but we're going to try and find someone who targets us. About the best example, Notser, is honestly that rudder change when you ran into the island. Yep. And I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I really enjoy this style. I like that a destroyer can hit targets at an extended range, and that sort of back and forth play where you're trying to hit a target that's very small. If they're played well, they can feather their range of the guns, so they're outside of secondary gun range, but also inside of their effective range. And I really like that. I think it's fun. I think it's, of course, another island. I think it's a fun gameplay loop. I don't want them to get rid of it. I just don't know if it's fair to deal with it. 13.5 is the nerfed range. So let's just take stock on what they've done to the ship. They didn't allow you to equip the range module. That has always not been available to the Khabarovsk. It used to have a range of, I think, like something like 14.4 or something like that. They nerfed that. The rate of fire was tweaked, I believe, or was that the other ones? Either way, the damage output of the guns was high, low, and then high again. It's gone up and down 300. It's up again. Inertia fuse high explosive is a buff. Whether you want to admit it or not is up your choice. And honestly, I think inertia fuse high explosive is a really big, not an issue, but it might have introduced a lazier player. Sometimes I switch to AP and I regret it immediately with my Khabarovsk build with inertia fuse because I'm not going to get the same kind of damage. There's a risk that the shell is going to ricochet, of course, with AP. There is no risk that the HE inertia fuse high explosive will ricochet. It improves your chance to avoid shattering. Yes, you sacrifice HE, but you gain a more consistent shell every shot. I actually want to try and just play cruisers with inertia fuse high explosive, all of them, and just see what the average damage output is. I don't know. Obviously, I switched to AP in this instance, and I felt like I was going to be rewarded for it, and I don't know that I was. I don't know that I really was. Now, we got the kill, of course, but we didn't deserve that kill. We have an Edinburgh over here sitting in his smoke. I was paying attention to the Friedrich der Grosse. I did not know exactly where the Edinburgh was. I have an idea of where he is, but I don't know if he's there precisely. I wanted to punish this guy who's near the edge of the map. You know, normal things you would do in your Soviet destroyers, of course. And I'm going to get a position, and oh, what is that? The Edinburgh is firing on us, and this is going to be an issue. It is going to take me a while to get all the way around, and this is the most vulnerable part. I don't want to continue going forward. I guess I could hold my fire and drop off that way, but oh man. You can't wiggle. You can't play any funny business. You just got to try and complete the turn. That is probably the most notable change with the rudder. It doesn't allow you to feather it as much. 5.5 is as bad or worse than some cruisers. I know some cruisers can get it way better than that. And I don't think that's unjustified, though. That's how much more powerful this thing is compared to the other tier 10s. But we worked past it. We were able to avoid it, engaging the targets at a fair range. It's not going to be hard to hit this. They didn't change anything about the guns, the speed, whatever. All of it is the same. There's nothing that was touched other than the rudder. But I really feel it. I really feel that rudder. Maybe I'm not going to engage a target because I just feel like the ship is so powerful. Maybe I wait, operate in a more flanking position where the enemy can't punish me. If they punish me, then they punish themselves, sort of thing. They have to address one target, either me or someone else. Maybe that's what you try and do more often in the Khabarovsk versus what I honestly do right now. I just brute force my way through the game. And I'm sure you've run into that too, where a really good Khabarovsk commander is really difficult to kill. Extremely difficult to kill. Probably one of the hardest ships in the game to kill. And that's going to sort of die out. You're still going to have scenarios where you avoid it, but it won't be as easy to change your direction. You won't be as nimble. It's not going to be like you're doing a crossover in basketball. It's going to be more, okay, he is clearly committed to turning, just like when you're targeting a cruiser, and he will eventually show a perfect broadside where I can punish. That's more what the Khabarovsk feels like. He's clearly poor Edinburgh. That's not the one who was firing at me, so I feel sorry for him. But he's going to be clearly committed to rudder shift. You won't have the window to adjust it so quickly. And, yeah, I don't disagree. I think this is the strongest ship in the game. I think it's by far the strongest ship in the game for the potential to scout, do damage at range, use torpedoes. It can also, if it wants to, equip smoke for its team. It's got It's got to be the fastest ship in the fleet, you know, combined with the speed boost and just the base speed of the ship. I mean, the only thing you can't do is one-shot people, which battleships are good for, and there's plenty of battleships to go around. I think the reason it's not played more is I don't think people view the destroyer as this particular playstyle. I think, in general, the destroyer feels a little bit more effort than most players are willing to put in, and this is the highest effort type of destroyer, where you're gun focused, you're rotating, you're wiggling all the time, you don't really get a chance to set up a torpedo ambush or use your smoke and sit in smoke. You are constantly feathering the rudder, trying to find shots, harass, avoid, all that. I love that though, that's fun. So I'm hoping to get a better game, but you could see the rudder was just sluggish for me. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you have a fantastic day, and catch you next time.